Welcome to QuickSpeak the English podcast that helps you navigate the twists and turns of the English language. Today, we're going to explore a topic that's essential for building and maintaining strong relationships, both personal and professional: the art of apologizing. Sometimes we stumble, we make mistakes, and knowing how to say sorry sincerely can make all the difference. So we're going to unpack what makes an apology truly genuine and effective.
What's interesting about apologies is that there's a lot more to it than just saying those two little words, "I'm sorry." It's about understanding why those words matter so much.
Right, it's not just about smoothing things over. It's about taking real responsibility.
Exactly. And to take responsibility, you need to listen. And really listen to the other person's perspective. Think about it. How can you genuinely apologize if you haven't truly understood how your actions impacted the other person?
Okay, so active listening is crucial. What are some practical ways we can become better listeners, especially when we're the ones who need to apologize?
Well, first and foremost, put your phone away. Give the other person your undivided attention. Make eye contact, nod along to show you're engaged. These nonverbal cues speak volumes, showing you're truly present in the conversation.
Those nonverbal cues really do help us feel heard, don't they? It's like they reinforce the words.
Absolutely. And another great technique is to paraphrase what you've heard to make sure you've understood it correctly. You can also ask open-ended questions, which encourages the other person to share more about their experience.
This all feeds into empathy, right? Which you mentioned earlier as a cornerstone of a genuine apology.
Precisely. Empathy is about stepping into the other person's shoes and feeling what they're feeling because of your actions.
So how do we weave empathy into our apologies? How do we show it?
Start by acknowledging the other person's feelings, validate their experience, instead of getting defensive or making excuses, even if it's difficult.
That could be tough, especially if we feel we didn't mean to cause any harm.
I understand that. But remember, a genuine apology is about the impact of our actions, not our intentions.
So even if we didn't intend to hurt someone, we should still acknowledge the pain we've caused.
Absolutely. A simple phrase like, "I understand why you're upset," can go a long way. It demonstrates that you're taking their feelings seriously.
And what about offering to make things right? Is that part of an empathetic apology?
Offering to make amends is a very powerful signal. It shows that you're not just saying you're sorry, but you're also committed to righting the wrong and preventing similar situations in the future. It demonstrates your sincere desire to repair the relationship.
All of this makes me think about the actual language we use when we apologize. It's not just about feeling it, but also expressing it correctly.
Language is key. It's the tool we use to convey sincerity and take responsibility. But certain phrases can actually undermine our message.
Really? Like, can you give us some examples?
One common trap is using conditional language like, "I'm sorry if you were offended." This kind of phrasing shifts the blame, implying that it's their fault for being upset.
It sounds like we're saying they're being too sensitive, right?
Exactly. Instead, try to be direct and specific about what you're apologizing for.
So instead of saying, "I'm sorry if I upset you," we should say something like, "I'm sorry that my words hurt you."
Precisely, that kind of directness shows you understand the specific impact of your actions.
What other phrases should we try to avoid?
Another pitfall is giving excuses or deflecting blame. Saying things like, "I'm sorry, but I was really stressed out," or "I didn't mean to do it," might seem like explanations, but they actually take away from the sincerity of your apology.
They shift the focus away from the impact on the other person.
Exactly. In a true apology, the focus should be on taking responsibility, not on justifying your actions.
This makes perfect sense. It really makes me reflect on how I've apologized in the past and how I can do it better. But saying sorry can be really tough sometimes.
It's true. There are a lot of psychological and emotional hurdles that can make it hard to apologize.
Like, what are some of these barriers?
Well, for some people, it's fear. They're afraid of the consequences of admitting they were wrong. They worry about judgment punishment or being perceived as weak.
I can see how that would be a major obstacle. Admitting fault can be scary.
Absolutely. And for others, it's perfectionism. They have a deep-seated belief that they always need to be right.
So for them, admitting a mistake would feel like a threat to their identity.
Exactly. And of course, there's pride. Pride can be a huge roadblock, preventing us from acknowledging our errors and taking responsibility.
Pride can definitely make it hard to say sorry sincerely.
It certainly can, and sometimes it's a simple lack of empathy. If we're too focused on our own perspective, it's hard to grasp how our actions affected others.
It's like we need to step outside of ourselves and see the situation through their eyes.
Exactly. And in some cases, the inability to apologize might stem from deeper psychological issues, such as low self-esteem or a fragile sense of self.
So admitting fault could trigger intense feelings of shame and inadequacy making a sincere apology almost impossible.
That's right. It's important to remember that everyone is different, and there are many reasons why someone might struggle to apologize.
Understanding those reasons can help us approach these situations with more compassion. So we've talked about the barriers to apologizing, but let's delve into the psychology behind a genuine apology. What's actually happening in our minds when we offer a truly sincere apology?
Okay, let's break that down. A sincere apology has several key psychological components. First, there's self-awareness. This is the ability to recognize our own mistakes and understand their impact. It involves engaging the prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain responsible for self-reflection and decision-making.
So we need to be able to step back and objectively analyze our own behavior.
Exactly. And once we've acknowledged our mistake, empathy comes into play. When we genuinely empathize with someone, our mirror neuron system is activated. This fascinating system allows us to share their feelings and understand their pain.
It's like we're actually experiencing their feelings in a way.
In a sense, yes, research has even shown that receiving a sincere apology can have a similar effect on the brain, as receiving physical pain relief.
Wow, that's really incredible. It highlights the healing power of a genuine apology.
And the act of apologizing and receiving forgiveness triggers the release of neurotransmitters like oxytocin and dopamine. These chemicals promote feelings of trust and bonding.
So apologizing isn't just good for the person receiving the apology, it's good for the person giving it too.
Absolutely, it's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about something called cognitive dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance, what is that?
Cognitive dissonance is the mental discomfort we experience when our actions clash with our values or beliefs.
So when we do something wrong, it creates this internal conflict within us.
Exactly, and that discomfort motivates us to try and resolve the conflict, either by changing our behavior or justifying our actions.
So in the context of apologies, cognitive dissonance can actually be a positive force.
It can be because it can push us to take responsibility for our mistakes and make amends. It's like our brain is urging us to do the right thing.
Interesting. And what about the principle of reciprocity? How does that come into play with apologies?
The principle of reciprocity is the idea that when we do something nice for someone, they're more likely to reciprocate to do something nice for us in return.
So when we offer a sincere apology, the other person is more likely to forgive us.
Yes, and that forgiveness can then lead to the restoration of the relationship. It's like a positive cycle.
A positive feedback loop where kindness begets kindness.
Exactly. And this cycle of apology and forgiveness is essential for maintaining healthy relationships.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about sincerity. You've mentioned it a few times already, but why is sincerity so important in an apology?
Sincerity is crucial. If an apology doesn't sound genuine, it can actually do more harm than good. It can come across as manipulative or dismissive.
So how can we make sure our apologies come across as sincere? Are there specific things we can do?
Yes, research has shown that apologies containing certain elements are more likely to be perceived as genuine. First and foremost, acknowledging responsibility is key. We need to clearly state that we understand we've done something wrong. No ifs, ands, or buts.
No trying to soften the blow or shift the blame.
Exactly. We need to fully own our mistakes.
And what other elements contribute to a sincere apology?
Expressing remorse is another important element. We need to communicate that we genuinely regret our actions and the pain we've caused.
So just saying I'm sorry might not be enough. We need to express those deeper feelings of regret.
Precisely, offering to make amends is another crucial step. This shows that we're not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. We're willing to take concrete action to repair the damage we've caused.
So it's about following through with our words and showing we're serious about making things right.
Exactly. And lastly, the way we deliver our apology matters a great deal. Our tone of voice, body language, and overall demeanor all play a role in how our apology is received.
So we need to be mindful not just of what we say, but how we say it.
Absolutely. A sincere apology should be delivered with humility, respect, and a genuine desire to make things right.
It's all about authenticity. People can usually tell when an apology is heartfelt and when it's not.
That's right, and I think that's a good place to pause. For now, we've covered a lot of ground today, laying the foundation for understanding the power of apologies.
Indeed, we've explored the importance of active listening, empathy, and avoiding common pitfalls. In Part 2, we'll dive into the process of rebuilding trust and mending relationships after an apology. We'll talk about timing active listening and commitment to change. So be sure to tune in next time for more insights on mastering the art of saying sorry. And in the meantime, if you'd like to delve deeper into the vocabulary and concepts we discussed today, head over to our website. You'll find a wealth of resources including transcripts and exercises. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to QuickSpeak. In this part, we'll delve deeper into the art of rebuilding trust and mending relationships through apologies. We'll explore the steps you can take to heal those connections after you've said, "I'm sorry."
It's fascinating because offering a sincere apology doesn't magically fix everything. Relationships take time and effort to fully heal, don't they?
Absolutely. Mending a relationship through an apology is a process, not a one-time event. It's about understanding the steps involved in rebuilding that trust.
So where do we begin? What's the first thing we should consider when trying to mend a fractured relationship?
Timing is crucial. Choosing the right moment to apologize can make all the difference in how your apology is received.
That makes sense. Trying to apologize when emotions are still raw probably isn't the best approach.
Exactly. It's essential to wait until both parties have had a chance to calm down and process their emotions.
So once the timing is right and we're ready to apologize, what should we focus on? What are the key elements of an effective apology in this context?
Specificity is key. You need to acknowledge the specific harm you've caused. Clearly articulate what you did wrong and how it affected the other person.
So instead of a general, "I'm sorry," we should be more precise and detailed?
Precisely. For example, instead of saying, "I'm sorry for what I said," you might say something like, "I'm sorry that my words hurt your feelings. I was insensitive and I regret it."
That's much more impactful. It shows that you've really thought about the consequences of your actions and how they affected the other person.
Exactly. And remember, taking full responsibility for your actions is paramount. Avoid making excuses or shifting the blame.
So no buts or what ifs when you're apologizing.
Right. Own your mistakes completely. Using phrases like, "I was wrong" or "I made a mistake" demonstrates sincere accountability.
And we talked about this earlier, but expressing genuine remorse is also vital, right?
Yes, conveying sincere regret for your actions and the pain you've caused is essential for the other person to feel heard and validated.
So how do we express remorse effectively? It's more than just saying, "I'm sorry," isn't it?
It is, you need to communicate your understanding of their pain and your regret for causing it. For example, you might say something like, "I can see how much I've hurt you and I deeply regret it." Or, "I understand why you're upset and I'm truly sorry for what I did."
Those phrases sound much more sincere because they directly acknowledge the other person's feelings.
Exactly. And in addition to expressing remorse, active listening plays a crucial role in the apology process.
Active listening seems to be a recurring theme in effective communication.
It is, and it's especially important when you're trying to repair a relationship.
Why is active listening so vital in this context? What does it communicate to the person we've hurt?
Active listening demonstrates that you care about the other person's perspective. It shows that you're genuinely interested in understanding how they feel and what they're going through.
So how do we practice active listening in this situation? What are some specific things we can do?
It starts with giving the other person your undivided attention. Put your phone away, make eye contact, and use nonverbal cues to signal your engagement, but it also involves verbal cues.
What kind of verbal cues are helpful when we're actively listening during an apology?
Asking clarifying questions, paraphrasing what you've heard, and reflecting back the other person's feelings are all effective ways to demonstrate that you're truly listening.
It's about making sure you fully grasp their perspective and how your actions have impacted them.
Exactly. Active listening is all about trying to step into their shoes and see the situation through their eyes.
So let's say we've listened attentively, acknowledged their feelings, and expressed our remorse. What's the next step in this process of rebuilding trust?
Offering to make amends is crucial. This shows that you're not just talking about change, but you're willing to take concrete actions to repair the damage you've caused.
What are some examples of making amends? What does that look like in practice?
It varies depending on the situation. Sometimes it might involve a sincere apology and a heartfelt conversation. Other times it might involve taking specific actions to correct your mistakes.
Can you give us some more concrete examples to illustrate this?
Of course, if you've broken a promise, you might offer to make it up to the person in some way. If you've damaged their property, you might offer to repair or replace it. And if you've hurt their feelings, you might offer to do something kind for them to show that you care.
So making amends goes beyond words. It's about demonstrating your commitment to change through your actions.
Exactly. It's about putting in the effort to rebuild trust and showing that you're truly sorry.
And what about asking for forgiveness? Is that an important part of the process?
Asking for forgiveness is a way to acknowledge that you've wronged the other person and that you're seeking their pardon. It's an act of humility and sincerity.
But it's crucial to remember that forgiveness is a gift, not a right.
Absolutely, we can't demand forgiveness. We can only humbly ask for it and hope that the other person is willing to grant it in their own time.
And even if the other person doesn't forgive us immediately, it's essential to respect their decision and give them the space they need.
Exactly. Forgiveness takes time, and we need to be patient and understanding. We've talked about acknowledging the harm, taking responsibility, expressing remorse, listening actively, offering to make amends, and asking for forgiveness.
These are all critical components of the rebuilding trust process. It sounds like quite a journey.
It is a journey. Rebuilding trust doesn't happen overnight. It requires time, consistency, and dedicated effort.
So what can we do to demonstrate our commitment to change and rebuild trust over time?
The most important thing is to follow through with your words if you've promised to change your behavior. You absolutely must do it. Actions always speak louder than words, especially in situations where trust has been broken.
We need to show the other person that we're serious about making things right, not just saying it.
Exactly, and patience is crucial in this process. Rebuilding trust takes time. Don't expect the other person to instantly forgive and forget.
We need to give them the time and space they need to heal and process their emotions.
Absolutely. Be understanding if they have setbacks or moments of doubt. It's all part of the healing process.
It's a journey, not a destination, and we need to be there for them every step of the way.
That's a great way to put it. Mending a relationship is an ongoing process that requires patience, understanding, and a commitment to growth, both individually and together.
This has been a really insightful discussion about the complexities of rebuilding trust after an apology. What are some additional tips and strategies that can help us navigate these delicate situations?
Let's explore those in the final part of our episode. We'll talk about some common pitfalls to avoid and the important role of self-forgiveness in healing and moving forward.
Be sure to join us for part 3, where we'll wrap up our discussion on apologies and offer even more valuable insights to help you navigate these challenging but essential conversations. Welcome back to QuickSpeak. In the last 2 parts, we've explored the anatomy of a sincere apology and the steps involved in rebuilding trust. But there's another important element to consider, one that often gets overlooked: self-forgiveness.
That's such an important point. We often focus on seeking forgiveness from others, but forgiving ourselves is equally crucial for healing and moving forward.
It's true. Holding on to guilt and shame can really weigh us down. So how can we practice self-forgiveness after making a mistake? What's the first step?
Start by acknowledging your feelings. It's perfectly normal to feel remorseful, guilty, or even ashamed after making a mistake. Those emotions are a natural part of the human experience.
So we shouldn't try to suppress those feelings or pretend they're not there?
Exactly. Trying to bury those emotions can actually be counterproductive. It's important to allow yourself to feel them, but don't get stuck there.
So how do we find that balance between acknowledging our feelings and not letting them consume us?
Finding healthy ways to process those emotions is key. This could involve talking to a trusted friend or therapist, journaling about your experience, or engaging in activities that help you feel grounded and calm.
So self-care is an essential part of self-forgiveness.
Absolutely. Taking care of your physical and emotional well-being is crucial for healing and moving forward.
Once we've processed those difficult emotions, what's the next step in forgiving ourselves?
The next step is to challenge any negative self-talk. If you're constantly berating yourself or using harsh language towards yourself, it's going to be very difficult to truly forgive yourself.
So we need to cultivate self-compassion and speak to ourselves more kindly.
Exactly. Treat yourself with the same compassion and understanding that you would offer a friend who had made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. It's part of being human.
That's easier said than done. For some people, some of us are our own worst critics.
I understand that it's a skill that takes practice. Learning to talk to ourselves in a kind and supportive way is essential for self-forgiveness and overall well-being.
So we've processed our emotions and challenged our negative self-talk.
What's the final step in this journey of self-forgiveness?
The final step is to make a conscious decision to forgive yourself. It's about acknowledging that you made a mistake, but choosing to release the guilt and shame that's holding you back.
It's about giving ourselves a second chance, recognizing that we're all human and we're all capable of learning and growing from our mistakes.
Exactly. Self-forgiveness is about releasing the burden of the past and allowing yourself to move forward with a lighter heart.
I love that, and I think it's such an important reminder that we're all imperfect beings and we all make mistakes. Absolutely. Making mistakes is an inevitable part of life. It's how we learn and grow.
And learning to forgive ourselves for those mistakes is an essential part of that growth.
Self-forgiveness is a powerful gift you give yourself, paving the way for healing and positive change.
This has been such an insightful conversation about the multifaceted nature of apologies and the importance of extending forgiveness both to others and to ourselves. What are some final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with?
Remember, a sincere apology offered with empathy and a commitment to change is a powerful force for healing and strengthening relationships. And self-forgiveness, while often challenging, is crucial for our own well-being and growth.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration of apologies. If you'd like to delve deeper into the topics we've discussed today, be sure to visit our website. You'll find a wealth of resources, including vocabulary lists, exercises, and transcripts of this episode. And don't forget to subscribe to QuickSpeak so you never miss an episode. Keep practicing your English, keep learning, and keep growing. Until next time, goodbye.